was an overindulgence in debt in certain parts of the market, which has obviously been coming home to roost with things like Evergrande and stuff like that. Do you think that there is a risk, maybe not a risk, but when we look at these sort of things, they get oversold, the valuations go low. And I remember, I think it was in 1998, people said Russia's cheap, and it's basically been cheap ever since. And how many years ago did people say that Microsoft and Amazon are expensive, and they remain expensive? I suppose they can stay that way for a significant period of time. So presumably, and we were talking about this earlier, when people are thinking about this, they should look at these dips as ways of, if they like China, and I know a lot of people go, I'm never going to touch it. But if you like this sort of China story, presumably you ease in over time, because you put it all in today. I mean, we fell over today, this morning was another weekday, 2% down. It could break the lows. So presumably people should take if they're doing it personally, a slightly longer term view and say, okay, I might allocate, let's say on a GDP basis, 20% of my capital. If you're in cash now, you might put 5% in today of that 20. So maybe 4 units of 5 over a period of time. Because it seems like there are still too many potential headwinds that could see us actually still surge lower in the very, very short term.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the entry point. Roger, the question is, is this entry point? I think so first of all, one thing is that there's a lot of money on the sidelines, okay, that wants to come into China. That's not written about in the press, but there's a lot of money globally that knows you're supposed to buy an oversold market right now, like China. You're supposed to buy it right now. Just from a technical standpoint, fundamentals. You're supposed to buy it. So there's a lot of money on the sidelines. There's also a lot of money on the sidelines in China that wants to come into the market. And everyone's looking for some momentum, okay, uptick, okay, and then some very positive signals from the Chinese government too, okay, that things are okay. And look, you bring up Evergrande. I think it's a good example where Evergrande, everyone knew that there was an issue there and that it would liquidate, and that news came out this week. But it wasn't too big to fail. When you have situations where you have, back in the financial crisis in America, where you have institutions that are too big to fail, the government has to step in and help. It shows you that real estate's not a systemic issue across China right now. They allowed Evergrande, okay, to go into this liquidation right now, which I actually see that as a signal that this is not systemic across China. Okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I suppose also what way people should think about these things is that for a lot of people it might be binary, in or out of China. I'm either in it or out of it. But as you've been talking about, maybe people should think about certain sectors, certain areas. Maybe it is the consumer, etc.